See Brown in your face.
Have you heard of Everything at Once?
Do you know about Everything at Once?
It's internationally known.
Aliens listen to it.
It's the best.
This ain't a regular podcast or daily news, so stay in tune. It's Everything at Once, the place for you. Various interviews of different perspectives from the Erie Collective to deliver a message, yeah. Whether a rapper or an event planner, baller, photographer, poet, or freestyle dancer, it's here. Forget the politics that's on the FM. Tony and Dave, you already know where to catch them. So much going on in the EPA.
Incredible content.
Everything at Once will keep you up to date.
Amazing guests.
What you doing? Come through and hang with Tony and Dave.
Community driven.
Bringing everything at once from around the way. Everything at once from around the way. Hey.
Please listen. We love you. Everything at Once.
Everything at Once.
We are so excited to bring another amazing episode of Everything at Once to you today, folks. We want to start off this broadcast with a special thanks to our Patreon producers, Brian G., Josh W., Ian D., Nick G., and Sadie M.
Patreon is an awesome way to support the show and say thanks. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link below and choosing to be an intern, assistant, or producer level supporter.
That's right. For the low cost of $5, you can become an intern level supporter. We also want to shout out all the local businesses that sponsored this episode. These businesses get the Everything at Once stamp of approval and are critical members of the Everything at Once community. We couldn't do it without them. We would first like to thank AFB Services. Much like this show, they do a little bit of everything at once.
AFB Services specializes in landscape and property maintenance needs. This means they can take care of all your lawn care needs. Everything from reseeding yards, flower bed clean out, tree work, edging, and other miscellaneous maintenance needs.
Check out their website at afbservicesllc.com or give Aaron a call at 814-528-7464.
Give them a call. We would also like to thank friends of the show, Cauldron and Thorne. Cauldron and Thorne is the world's largest witchcraft store, offering a conglomerate of crystals, books, ceremonial supplies, incense, herbs, and oracle and tarot cards and self-care items.
It's a real grocery store for the soul, located just west of the Colony Plaza on West 8th Street. Cauldron and Thorne is open 7 days a week or 24 hours online at cauldronandthorne.com.
We would like to welcome our second new sponsor, Solid State Construction. Solid State takes pride in all home remodeling projects.
That's correct, Dave. Solid State specializes in bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovations, window and door installations, custom design work, and more, including painting, flooring, drywall, siding, and decks. Get a free quote today by calling Nick at 814-397-7854. Solid people, solid product, Solid State Construction. And we also want to thank our latest sponsor, Tommy's Automotive. Tommy's Automotive can take care of everything car related. Tommy's Automotive is a reliable, trustworthy service provider.
That's right. Tommy's Automotive can take care of brakes, exhaust, fluid changes, spark plugs, and all other maintenance needs.
Tommy's Automotive also does fluid film undercoating. Book your appointment today. Call Tommy at 814-384-8088. And now, here today, just for you, we have GeeXella, DJ Extreme.
They are awesome.
Incredible. They've been here in Erie as part of the resident artist program through Erie's Arts and Culture, teaching classes and traveling around, DJing, bringing that hot, sweet, sweet music to all you people out there. And now they have an incredible episode of Everything at Once to bring to you.
And we went down this road with them talking about their craft, how they got into it. We went a little bit deeper, you know. A lot of times with art, there's struggle and social constructs that need to be challenged, and GeeXella, they just have a very interesting story, and we're so happy that they had the opportunity to be a resident artist in Erie.
That's right. They brought a ton of sweet stuff here and a bunch of amazing content here for you guys to enjoy. We want to thank you all so much. And now, GeeXella. It's an accurate statement to say that Celinda is definitely smarter than I am. But today, it's not about Celinda. No, it's not. It's not about Celinda. She's not here.
Yes.
Today we got with us in the studio, GeeXella.
Yes. Insert clap emoji.
Yeah. Coming to the stage to throw down the sickest mix you've ever heard.
That's it.
DJ GeeXella.
Yes. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up, fam?
We're super happy to have you out here. You are in Erie as one of our resident artists through the Arts and Culture organization. Mm-hmm. We're super happy to have you.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. It's been such an amazing time. Like, the community has been so sweet. Me and Patrick go way back when Patrick used to live in Jacksonville, so it was cool to just touch base with him. He was like a huge part as to why I'm sitting here in front of you. He's like, yeah, this is a website, this is a CV, you should get some of these things. And so he's been a huge part of my career.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Erie's super happy to have you. How's the weather treating you? You're not from this type of climate.
Listen, I'm from the South, okay? I am from Florida. And so honestly, everyone keeps saying that like the weather is like really nice like this right now for some reason. So it hasn't been too bad. Yesterday was a little cold. I'm not even about to lie to you. I was inside.
Normally there's tons of snow piled up on the ground at this point of the year.
That's what everybody was saying. My family's from Minnesota, so like I'm used to like snow. Because I used to grow up there some summers and winters and stuff, and so I definitely know
accustomed to the snow. You know what it's like to have mounds and feet of nasty brown snow all next to the road and stuff.
I mean, but I stay inside. Like I see it, but I'm not experiencing it.
Definitely a few times when I was a kid that would be shoveling in my shorts because it'd be like 70 degrees the next day after a snowstorm.
Right, right.
I love Erie.
I know, because today's like gorgeous. I'm like,
the sun's out. It feels good on your back. It's nice.
It'll be snowing again next week.
It'll be snowing again next week. I have this big thing where I go out in. I love shoveling snow. It's like fighting the earth to me. I need a big enough adversary like the earth to battle against myself.
Fun fact. The last time that there was like, this was like years ago, that there was like a real wet snow and I was the same way and I'm like, I'm going to go destroy this shit. And I gave myself a hernia.
Oh my God, going so hard.
Taking as much wet snow as I could in the shovel and being like, I'm the ultimate Erieite.
No snow is too big for me. I was born in the cold. You all adopted it.
And then
it's a Bane quote. That's just for you from Batman.
Right.
For all my nerds out there. So, being up in Erie, what have you been getting into so far?
So far I've been spending a lot of time with I'm going to butcher their name, but the inner city like youth program that's like right across from 1020.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
I've been spending a lot of time with them. I rapped and I sang for them, and then today I did a DJing 101 workshop, so that was really cool. And then just like trying to like get like into my music, like really trying to like gather oral histories from folks.
Cool.
Shout out to Doc. I sat with him for a while and like talked with him, talking about Erie's like hip hop scene, which was like really cool to kind of get that history.
Sweet.
And then so just trying to like get into all the things, like go to different events that y'all have.
Have you been to the Rook?
What's that? I don't know what that is.
King's Rook Club?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. It's like where a lot of the music goes down here, and the stage is so this is like my plan for the summer now that I got this really cool camera. Thank you all to our Patreon sponsors and advertisers and people that support us. We love you guys so much. It wouldn't be possible without you. But they have such a cool stage setup that's like a huge the DJ or like the stage is actually at like head height for me. So it's way up, and then you're down in a pit, and then there's like gradual higher levels as you go back further.
Cool.
And I feel like if it was out there more and I got some really cool pictures and put it like a portfolio together, we could really start attracting some like really not that like nationally touring bands don't come here ever, but I think that we could get a lot more into the town if they saw that we had such a cool venue for promotional stuff and everything.
Yeah, well, I definitely have to go check it out.
Yeah, they got a bus upstairs too. It's kind of
cool. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So my homie, well, not my homie, but this boo I just met, his name is Lone Sav. He DJs there, so he's going to be DJing for me. Even though this episode will already be out, but he's going to be DJing for me this weekend.
Oh,
so,
sweet.
Yeah, he was telling me about this place. I want to see it because I want to see the bus with the DJ booth in it.
Oh, it's incredible. It's definitely unique. Shout out to our boy Johnny Evans.
Yeah, shout out to Johnny Evans. He's another local hip hop rapper.
Oh, cool.
That's in the area. He was on the show like a month ago, I guess.
Couple months. Time flies by.
But he's a super good dude, and he's out there trying to promote and doing a lot of stuff as far as like attracting different bands and different kinds of music and giving people a stage to play on for the first time, or the people that are local that aren't used to playing on a big stage like that.
That's so important. We need those people.
Oh my God, it's huge for the music scene and to support the local artists and to give them a space to go out and do their thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's so good. As far as what you're doing too, you were just in Toronto recently.
Yes.
You made the like 2-hour trip up from Erie to Toronto.
No, I actually flew.
Oh, nice. Good for you, dude.
Yes.
That's like a half-hour trip.
Yes, I know. But I did drive to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh, which was like the most terrible airport ever.
It sucks.
It's not good.
God, I hate that.
We're flying out of there later this
Oh my God.
May.
Just pay for the parking so you can get the freaking shuttle. Like, oh my God. Like in Delta, fucking. Wait, can I cuss?
Yeah, it's cool.
Fuck ass Delta broke my luggage, so one of my wheels was broken, so I had to walk like 1,000 miles to like get to my car. But yeah, so I that's just my complaints. But yeah, I went out there because my job, I work for this really dope organization called Femme House, which is co-run by LPGOB, like a really dope EDM artist, where we teach girls, gender expansive trans folks, like how to DJ and how to produce. And so the W Hotels had their first ever W Presents, and I was lucky enough to do a DJ workshop and open for Channel Tress. So that's why I was up in Toronto.
That's awesome.
It was a fun time. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Met some really dope folks, and the crowd was just like, they just wanted to have a good time. It was cool. And Channel Tress actually went to my workshop, so that was really dope, like just to meet him, and he's such a sweet guy. So yeah, I had a really good time.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the cool things about Erie, I think, is that we're so close to so many other big cities, you know what I mean? We got Cleveland, that's an hour and a half away. Buffalo, that's an hour away. Toronto's, I don't know, 2.5 hours. Pittsburgh, 2 hours. All right there. Yeah,
and I've been trying to take advantage of that. Like, I'm going to Philly this weekend.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was trying to go to Detroit, but I was like, that's going to be a little bit too much. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do Philly, come back. So I'm excited.
It's a bit of a trip out to Detroit, and Detroit is a little bit scary.
Oh,
to
no.
me. No, maybe not. I'm sure there's awesome parts of Detroit and stuff, but like all I hear, because I work in the mental health field, and I just hear people
that's real.
Going crazy, taking trips back and forth to Detroit to do what people do.
Yeah,
and,
no, that's real. I worked like in like housing in Florida, and it's it's the same thing. There's always shit everywhere.
Right.
I think it's more so like Detroit's like where like techno and like house like
all
really started. So it's like I just want to go there to kind of like experience that part of the scene. So
for sure,
pay homage to the beginnings.
I know, right?
That's important to respect our history and to know about it and to be in those places. I think as like a human being, I think there's a lot of power in history and like those old, just the vibes of the place. You know what I mean? That sticks around. That energy, those feelings, all are part of that that scene. You know?
So true. So true.
And so as far as your DJ stuff goes, like, do you do a lot of house and techno and trance? And
Yeah, I do love doing. It's like it's so interesting and hard at the same time because like so I'm half black, half Mexican. So I grew up listening to like all this like genres of music. My dad's from Chicago, so
cool.
I grew up listening to hella house music, you know, and then my mom, you know, being Mexican, like hella Selena and like bachata and stuff like that. But also like I love house. Like it's just like it's always been around me, so it's never been anything like new. But now that like it's such like a mainstream like genre now, folks are like so into it. But yeah, I love house. I love trance. I love like tropical house, like all types of like mixing, you know, together.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I just like to make people move. So that all that music sounds the same to me, going from like you know EDM to like house to you know perreo to reggaeton. Like all that sounds like the same to me. So I love mixing all those genres together.
I like it when the genres kind of blend themselves too.
Yes.
I've been hearing, I listen to a fair amount of metal, and a lot of like electronic music is starting to branch into the metal scene now, and I just really like enjoy how they blend those sounds together, because normally, at least in my experience, those aren't two things that I would really say go together, but at the end of the day, I think the passion and the fire that they ignite in people is strong enough to like that they just make sense, you know?
No, I've been hearing that too. And then also like rap music making its way, you know, well, deeper into like techno and stuff like that. So it's an exciting time to be like a part of music, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And with all these new things going on and stuff, how do you manage to keep up?
Oh, child, Google Calendar. Honestly, like if I don't have Google Calendar, listen, like it don't exist. Like I'm a student, you know, I work 2 contract jobs, like I'm a full-time DJ, you know, I have an amazing partner, like, you know, doing community work. Like, yeah, I know I'm always doing like 3 much, but you know, for me, I feel like that's all part of the same work, you know, being like in community, that's my work. Like, you know, I gotta get money, you know what I'm saying? Right. So, but I had to get out of nonprofit because I just was like, I can't do this. I want to be an artist. And so being an artist has been like, just like brought me so much more joy. Like it's just something I've been wanting to do for years, but never like took that leap. And so, you know, a couple months ago, I was like, listen, babe, I'm leaving my job. I was like, I can't do this. They're like, what the? They're like, I went to school and then I came home and you don't have a job. But yeah, I just like took a chance, and it is honestly the best thing that I could do. You know, speaking of mental health, the best thing I could do for my mental health. My therapist is like, look at you, killing it.
Right.
Like, you know, a year ago you said this is what you wanted to do, and like here you are. So it's been really amazing.
That's a big step. That's like gotta be a lot of fear.
Oh,
you know,
my
leaving
God.
behind the safe, stable.
Listen, I don't know if y'all are into astrology. I'm a Capricorn, so okay. So I love my money, you know what I mean? And also just like, you know, as someone who's like been on their own, you know, since I was 18, I've always like been someone that's like taking care of myself and like always made sure like I had my things. And so yeah, just like taking that leap of faith was like really terrifying. You know, it was like October and I was like, okay, well, I got gigs all the way out to December. Then like November came and I was like, okay, well, I got gigs all the way out to March. I guess I'm good. And you know, I did try to like go on some interviews, but it just ended up not panning out. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do contract work, like, you know, make my part-time into more of a full-time and, you know, just like gig. And it's been working out. So
it's amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
So many people struggle to take that big step or that giant leap there too. You know, I feel like I see a lot of people who have like dreams and aspirations, but I don't see a lot of people like actually go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wish I just would have did it sooner, to be honest. I'm just like, oh, I could have been doing this shit. Like, I don't know why. I just was like, you know, and I think what helps too, you know, shout out to one of my really good friends. Her name is Summer. She's like a graphic artist and also has played in bands and stuff like that. And also having that community has helped me because she's been a contract worker for a long time. And so we meet up every once in a while. And she's like, you just got to ride that wave. She's like, sometimes it's going to get scary, but just like keep going, you know?
Yeah.
And then I get, you know, a notification that someone filled out, you know, a form to like book me for something and it just ends up working out, you know?
It's amazing.
So yeah, it's been scary, you know, like a lot of the times, but also just like pays off because I can come here and like, you know, meet folks. I can be like, yeah, I can go to Toronto next week. Cool, whatever.
Heck
you know,
yeah.
like it's been like very rewarding in the end.
Absolutely. Awesome. I love hearing that kind of stuff too. And, you know, getting people booked out. Like at first when we started this show, it's like I was such an anxiety ridden person trying to get guests to come on. And now we're like booked till we're like into July almost.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
And that's like slowing it down a little bit, you know, because we have so many people booked. I mean, when we started, we were like, is this going to work? And then, you know, we went out on a limb and asked like personal friends, like, could you come on the show, please? And it's like, you know, and then, you know, we're getting wonderful people like you on.
It's awesome.
I mean, in all honesty, when we started this back in August, like, I don't think any of us or either of us could have dreamed that we'd get to this point.
Exactly.
Like, so many times it peters out before people give up before the miracle happens. You know what I mean? And instead of having that perseverance to stick things out and keep going, and you know, we never imagined, like, we'll be there's an old saying, like, we'll be amazed before we get halfway there.
Oh, I like that.
You know, like, we're just getting started.
That's
everybody in all their careers and all their endeavors and stuff like that, once you start to see a little bit of success and it's amazing and you feel good and it's like it was all worth it.
That's so true. I
really
love
it's you're not even halfway there yet.
It sounds like something that like Roald Dahl or like, I don't know, like
I know. No, it sounds like some Disney shit. I love it.
You'll be amazed before you're halfway there.
Exactly. Right? I love it.
And then the rainbows come out and everything starts sparkling and flowers bloom.
I've been to Disney a few times and I feel like I've heard that at the Magic Kingdom. I think you stole that.
Well, I said it was an old saying. I didn't say it was my saying.
Right,
I'm not trying to take credit.
Exactly.
But it's really good to see people branching out and to come out here and, you know, make it. And we really appreciate all of the things that the Arts and Culture and Patrick has been doing to bring people here to help, you know, prosper that music and that community scene here. I mean, you're offering classes to all sorts of people and doing things and showing people that it's possible. Yes,
definitely. I mean, it's been so incredible to be here and just like, you know, not have to worry about like, the cool thing I love about this residency is that, you know, I don't have to turn in anything. It's just like meant to like have time to work on my art, like whatever that is. You know, I totally got to make up like this residency and like do what I want. And so it's been really cool to just like connect with like the young people here. Also just like be able to talk to like elders in this community that have been here for a while. And so I'll be talking to more elders next week. So I'm super excited to be here. And also like Erie Arts and Culture took a chance on me. I'm their first like music artist. Like everybody else has done photography or sculpture or, you know, whatever. And, you know, I'm just like really shout out to Patrick for just like being imaginative with this program. And, you know, I'm so sad that y'all are going to lose him, but, you know, listen, he's not going to be too far. So,
another thing is like whenever one door closes, another one opens. You know what I mean? We got an opportunity for somebody to be the new Patrick.
Yes, exactly. And he's an amazing person. And, you know, something that I really love about him is that like he's always going to be a resource for folks, you know, like he's always there to like listen, to like answer, and he's just such a great person. I'm always gushing over him. He's so sweet.
So what have you enjoyed most about being here as far as like the city of Erie? What do you think is the draw or the aspect that you've really appreciated so far?
I was just talking about this with my friend. There's a lot of black people here.
Yeah?
I'm very shook by how much black people are
coming
here.
Coming from Atlanta.
No, I was like, did not expect the amount of black people that I've been seeing. So that's been like really cool. And like my project is like, what I'm trying to do is do like mixing like sound, like healing with like technology. I'm going to be doing like a sound bath over Erie, and capturing like oral histories from like elders, like black elders that have been here for generations, and like making a curated mix with everything. And so, it's just been like really beautiful to see like the diversity of this community that I wasn't expecting. And also like understanding that this space was like a huge conduit for like the Underground Railroad. And it's like, as soon as I got here, like I felt that shift. Like I can't explain it, but like when I saw the water, I was like, oh my God, like this is like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but this is wild. So yeah, it's just been like also really like a welcoming city too for me. Like every person I've met has been like so kind and like super sweet. And so yeah, it's been great.
Awesome.
It's definitely a hidden gem. I mean, Underground Railroad, we're a refuge city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
We have lots of people coming in from Nepal and other places too.
Yeah,
As far as like refugees go, yeah. you're right.
Yeah. I don't know the exact number, but I know that it's just a small amount of cities in the country that are like the designated refuge cities, and we're one of them. So it's cool to have like diversity from all over the world.
Yeah, it's
Right.
beautiful.
And it's unfortunate too because Erie's got like a really bad rap for our black. Like there was a newspaper article like a number of years ago that Erie was one of the worst places for a black person to live.
I know.
It's a bummer to see that, but it also, I feel like hopefully in my eyes, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I like to see the positive change and think that that's starting to change for the black community here.
I mean, the folks that I have been connecting with, it's just been really great to just like be in community. I mean, it just seems like, folks are able to just like connect in different ways. That's not like the same, like, being in Atlanta or being in Florida, like kind of these like quote unquote bigger cities. And I feel like sometimes being in Atlanta, I miss that. Like being in Jacksonville, like we have, it's kind of like a tight knit community. And so going to Atlanta, it's just kind of like so much more spread out. So I like being here because it feels like that, like a little bit more tight knit, not so like, spread out and like capacious,
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like Erie being small kind of has its own advantages and its own special ways. Because you get to meet your neighbor, you know what I mean? And maybe your neighbor is actually like halfway across the city, your friends or whoever, and they're not super far. And everybody seems to have like this, instead of 6 degrees of separation, we have like 2 or 3.
Exactly. And I think that makes a big difference. And so just being able to like, submerge myself in this community has been like so amazing, and just meeting all kinds of folks. So.
I think it's cool too. Like you have more time in a place like this to focus on your personal and creative endeavors, strictly because you can walk out of wherever you are, even at like 5 p.m., and get anywhere in this city in 20 minutes or less.
Exactly.
It's not like you're like, oh, I got to travel 5 miles. This is going to take 3 hours of my day,
Right.
And also it's just gorgeous. Like just the amount of green. I mean, the water is like right there.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm a water baby, so I love it. It's been gorgeous.
Cool. So you've been out to Presque Isle and stuff like that?
Not yet. Hopefully next week I'll be able to go out there. Or, well, supposedly maybe tomorrow, but we'll see. Because I'm
Be a good day tomorrow.
I'm going to be I know, tomorrow's going to be gorgeous. I have to travel, though. So I'm like, oh. But yes, because that's where I'm going to be doing my sound bath. So sometime next week I'll do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
With so you guys have been like downtown and you've been exploring and all of that stuff as much as you can.
Yeah. I've eaten at a lot of places downtown, walked around a lot downtown, and went to like the food hall and stuff like that. And where else have I been? I went to Sarah's.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah. My belly was hurting real bad after that, but we went there. But yeah, it's been great.
Good. And have you met up with like you said you've already met up with some of the other DJs around here too?
So I met up with Lone Sav, and then I met up with Doc, but that's it right now. Yeah, I'm not sure of any other DJs. Y'all got some recs, so I'm down to meet up with them.
Yeah, I mean Joe Kobda and the 814 bass crew and Johnny K.
I know Johnny does some DJing, but I don't know what kind of DJing that he does.
Yeah.
Like I know he does events, but I don't know how creative he gets with it.
Right. And
I'm supposed to meet up with I can't remember that man's name. Well, I'm gonna be meeting he has like a Twitch show. Dang, I can't remember his name, but we're gonna meet up soon.
Cool. That's awesome. And as far as like the music scene in Erie, have you been able to make it to any shows?
No, Patrick invited me to one show, but I just wasn't able to get out there. And then Lone Sav invited me to his show, but I just been sleeping, to be honest, catching up on that. Also, it's final season, so I've been like doing my finals, so it's been like hard. But hopefully next week I'll be able to catch like a show or two. I want to be able to at least go to a music venue or something while I'm out here. I'm the worst DJ because I want to be in the bed by like 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Me too.
Right?
I'm like 11.
Listen, 11's too late for me.
11, I'm like about to fall asleep.
No, honestly, same. My partner's always like, why you gotta go to sleep so early? I'm like, listen, I'm old.
Yeah.
I feel younger now. Thank you.
Right? I need my rest.
Exactly.
But it is really important to get out and to see those shows. So I try to make it, especially because we have guests on now, like music artists and stuff like that. Like I have to go to their shows, you know, at least every now and then. I'm like, my integrity is tied to that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be have somebody on our show and never go out to support them and exchange energy. You know what I mean? Like they came here and did our thing. Like of course I'm going to go to your thing and be there as well.
Not only that, but everybody that we've had on that's been any kind of, well, everyone in general, but specifically for music, we haven't had anyone on that doesn't kick ass.
Yes,
yeah, that's true.
I love that.
Yeah, our local music scene here is really interesting, and it seems like it comes in waves. Like COVID threw a huge wrench into things, but like pre-COVID, everything was really starting to go off. You know, a lot of people were coming into town. Everybody in town was starting to do things, and it feels like it's over the last year, it's really started to come back to life again.
That. I love to hear that. That's really dope.
Yeah, and it's so good to see people out there doing things too, because like there's a big thing where, you know, you have to be in like a big city like Atlanta or like New York City or like Pittsburgh or Cleveland or any of the other neighboring cities to ever do anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And maybe to a certain extent that is true. You know what I mean? Once you reach a certain point, but I still feel like we got to show love for our own town and cut our teeth somewhere, you know?
Yeah, and also just like create the scene too if you don't see it. You know, that's like my big thing. Every time I'm always like teaching like DJing class or like, you know, how to curate community. Like if you don't see it, build it, you know?
Right. And there's so much opportunity for that here because people are not, we're not huge like a Pittsburgh or like an Atlanta or a New York City or anything like that, so there's so much space to grow and to foster and to continue to move upwards.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to like enmesh yourself into an already super established tight-knit scene, you know, we have like the openings and the availability to people to get on stage and stuff.
That's it. Yeah.
I think the only or not the only, I'm sure there's many that I'm not thinking of, but one of the real struggles like somewhere like here in like a smaller space, you don't get like a lot of the big national acts coming in on a regular basis. So like we have a lot of awesome and talented artists around here, but you know, I've heard stories that like if you just keep on, you know, doing shows like multiple times a month for years on end, like people have seen you so much that it just kind of gets a little stale.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's so real. You got to keep like, I think that's just the hard part. You have to like keep like reinventing yourself, you know, trying new things and stuff like that. And just like, you know, if you don't see it, like creating something or collaborating with folks, like I feel like that's always like good and it's never a bad thing to do, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right. You know, you got to get with your brothers and sisters out there.
That's it.
And make something beautiful together.
Yes. Look at you, all these little sayings.
I fancy myself a philosopher and a podcaster.
I love it.
I just like to talk. I don't put too much thought into the word. I do, but I'm not very quotable.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just a parrot. I'm only saying the things that I've found other people saying that were inspiring.
On Disney, in Disneyland.
Yeah, wherever, you know what I mean? I'll take it where I can get it. Some of the best sayings are on Disneyland.
That's true.
Everybody needs a little bit of hope, you know?
That's true. See, there's another one he's just dropping.
Oh, yeah.
Dropping dimes down here. The Steph Curry of podcasts.
Yeah, right. Get out of here. Someday, maybe. But it's really good to have the other cities around here too for that same reason, you know. That way you're not forced to play the same venue every night all the time.
Yeah, you can go like travel and stuff.
You can travel around. You can go do a show in Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Buffalo, and it's it seems like it's a lot of it is really just up to you and your ability to network.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, talking to people and not just going up, doing your set and peacing out. You know, you got to stick around, you got to meet, you got to greet, you got to shake some hands and kiss some babies.
That's it. That's so true.
Or else you'll never meet any, you know, you won't find those opportunities.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, or else you'll never meet any babies.
Any babies?
Well, you gotta kiss them babies. You gotta meet them if you're gonna.
That's so true.
Gotta take advantage of those photo ops.
Yes.
Exactly. I love the idea of like music. Well, it obviously is, but like you being here as a musical artist. Because music is a very empowering thing. A lot of times when I think of art, I think of empowerment, and music definitely hits those.
Yeah.
Those same buttons that good art does, like physical painted, sculpted art.
Yeah, or theater, you know, wherever. And I think that music is an awesome way to draw people together, you know what I mean? When you get like a bunch of people out on the dance floor and everybody's having a good time and there's like a sense of interconnectedness.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're not a bunch of individual people anymore. We're like a big group of people or a community of people out here enjoying this moment right now.
Exactly. No, I mean, I love a dance floor, and like for me, you know, I imagine the dance floor just as a space to like, you know, recreate, to like reimagine, to think about like what community can look like. In Jacksonville, where I'm originally from, I started a dance night called Duval Folks, where, you know, again, like it was a space where like, you know, there was a gay scene, but it was like more of like an elder like gay scene and not like a queer scene. And so like really trying to like transform that space and be like, okay, what can I do to like reimagine like what gay life looks like here in Jacksonville? And so, you know, I started Duval Folks and like connected with like community organizers and just like got folks involved, you know, reallocated funds, did some like mutual aid and stuff, because like the queer clubs just weren't, or the gay clubs weren't doing any of that shit or taking care of our people at all. And so, yeah, I really see the dance floor as like just like a really like cool space to just like rethink, you know, like what does community look like? What does communal gathering look like? So, yeah,
Right.
I love a dance floor.
So, speaking of like the LGBTQ community, have you reached out to them at all in Erie or met up with anybody?
So I hopefully will be seeing Tyler soon.
He's coming on the show eventually.
Oh, cool.
Or they're coming on the show eventually.
Yes, they booked me 2 years ago to keynote for like a youth program, and so hopefully I will be connecting with them on Monday, because I'm doing a workshop at the teen center at the library. And some other queers I've connected with, but I know that in some regard that it's like a little bit more siloed. So, you know, I'm just like, hey, if folks can come out, they're going to come out. If not, you know, I'll see them when I see them.
Right. And
hopefully with my dance night, folks will come through.
From talking with my friends in the LGBTQ community, I know that there's not really, it doesn't seem like there's really a central hub for a lot of LGBTQ people other than like the Zone. And I don't know if the Zone is exact, like, and nothing against the Zone. Zone's a great, awesome place, but it is a bar, and I feel like they need something more than that that's a little bit more motivated towards making positive changes. And not that you can't do it at a bar or at the Zone or anything like that, but I'd like to see a little bit more of a I don't know what, I guess I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, that's real. I mean, that was a huge reason why I started Duval Focus in my city, was because for me, you know, I was DJing in the like gay club and like where everybody went, you know, like y'all's version of the Zone. But the owner was like not a great person, and like, you know, she was like very segregated and was like, you know, you can only play Latin music on Latin nights and you know, rap music on urban nights. And I was just like, this is so whack. And so, and also at the time, you know, I was like navigating like, you know, possibly thinking about sobriety and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah, I just want like young people who are queer to go into a space where they don't have to go to a bar, you know. And so like reimagine like what that even looks like. like. And so now in my city, I have like the dance night at our fine arts building, and so it's
Cool.
like in a garden, and like, you know, folks like, you know, if they get alcohol, it's like completely like on the other side of the space, and it's like one little bar, but it's not like, you know, heavy liquor or anything like wild like that. And it's just like, it's a beautiful atmosphere, you know. And now, like someone who is sober, you know, I'm also thinking about,
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
thank you. Thinking about like, yeah, what does like community space look like, you know, without like drinking and like substance and stuff like that, which is like no shade to like folks who are, but for the queers that are like sober and they don't want to go to a bar, like what does that community gathering look like, you know? And so, yeah, I think that's like the hard part sometimes.
I think that's such a huge thing to do, though, because I think just anybody in general, probably from like teenage years, high school years on, like trying to have fun without like drugs or alcohol involved is like, it's kind of tough. Like when people go out in this country, it's like there has to be drinks involved, especially if you're trying to be sober after, you know, you know, if it's like a struggle, you still want to go out and have fun. Like, it's cool that you provide that, that option for them.
Yeah, and I think now more than ever, it's like it's starting to become a lot more popular. Like there's like brands, like I saw recently, I used to work for Vans, so like I saw Vans did this thing where it was like a dry happy hour. It was like mocktails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had like DJs and stuff. And you know, now there's like more drinks that are coming out that are like, you know, that don't have alcohol in them and stuff. So a lot more people are actually like turning to sobriety, which has been like beautiful to see. And also like meeting other DJs that are like completely sober, you know, and like, you know, having a partner now that's like sober. A lot of my friends don't like drink or smoke either. So it's been like, you know, it hasn't been that hard, thankfully. Like when I decided to be sober, and, you know, all my friends are like super supportive and they know, and, you know, it's been, you know, not, I would say for me, not that hard of a, you know, journey. Recently, it has been like in the sense of like now I'm starting to do like bigger shows, and so like the alcohol is like there more, and so that is getting a little tough just to like be like in such close proximity and like it being like everywhere. But you know, I have my support system, and like, you know, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for years, so shout out to my therapist, Eric the Baddest.
It's good
Eric
for you,
the Baddest therapist. That's his name on Instagram. He's the best.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the people are seeing that, you know, being sober can be a positive and good thing, and it's not just for people who are nerds or, you know, however it would get characterized in the past. You know, it's not like, oh, you're a goody two shoes, you don't drink, you do drugs, blah blah blah. And I like to see, there's a company in Erie called Blind Tiger. The owner of Room 33 has it, and they serve non-alcoholic drinks that are like very, you know, they're a little bit more sophisticated, so that way you're not quite like, you're not drinking a Coke or water at the club or wherever you're at home. You have something that's a little bit more interesting and refined
I'll have to go there.
Enjoy. Yeah,
I love that.
They actually sell them in some of the stores around here.
Yeah, it's called Blind Tiger.
Tiger.
Oh, nice. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
And I like that aspect too, that people are seeing that, like, you know, this is something that has been destructive for, you know, some people for a long time. Yeah. And to be able to step away from it and not feel like an outsider, you know, is really important, you know? Yeah,
that's so real.
And, you know, finding that community and finding that sense of purpose and finding the other people around you and seeing that other people are starting to do it is also like a really big thing, you know what I mean? Especially for people that might be questioning.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
And also just like being in entertainment, like where it's just like endless, you know, it's just like you go to a hotel, it's like liquor in the hotel room, there's liquor like in the dressing room, you know what I mean? Like folks asking you if you want to drink. So like, yeah, now that I'm like starting to do like bigger shows, like I said, it has been like, you know, it's just like so much more. But, you know, just having like, you know, that plan and, you know, those folks around you that you can like text or like talk to is like, you know, always super important, just like having that community.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I think that a lot of it is like an internal struggle too, because like nobody wants to be characterized as like the nerd or whatever, you know, whatever, however you want to characterize it. But in my experience, nobody has ever shamed me for getting a bottle of water or drinking a Red Bull instead of having, you know, a cranberry vodka or whatever it is that I would normally drink.
It's only happened to me once, and it was the person that did it got made to look like the fool in the end. Good. It wasn't me being a jerk about it. It was just like a person, have a beer. I don't want one. Why not? I'm driving now. Well, you can still have a beer, dude. I won't. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
You know, like, come on, like
just chill out, bro.
Exactly.
I have a Gatorade. You know?
I'm good. I'm lubricant. I'm good.
Right. And I think it empowers people a lot too to stand out in their truth and not need that social lubricant to relieve them of their inhibitions, you know, and they can just be themselves and be and that's good enough, you know what I mean? And recognizing that is so powerful for people, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's such a powerful thing in like the I'd assume it's such a powerful thing in like the LGBTQ community as well, just trying, you know, having spaces where you're not ostracized.
Exactly. Yeah, I try to, like, especially when I first started Duval Folks, like, you know, when I moved it out of a venue into like more of like a DIY space, like I still tried to like have like a room that was just like, okay, no alcohol is allowed in here, like this is only for folks that like just want to have like a sober space. If you're gonna drink, go outside or smoke or whatever, go over there. And so folks like really did appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to have those kinds of spaces too, because then you can have people that are under the age of 18 and under the age of 21, all those youths. And I feel so funny when I call them youths.
I know. My friends always make fun of me because, like, all my events are always all ages. And I'm just like, dude, like, get over it. Like, this is a venue. Like, everyone is allowed to be in here. You know, like, you want to party 21 and up, go somewhere else. You know, this is, like, for folks who just want to hang out, like, have a good time, just, like, chill, and just, like, have a different experience, you know? And people, like, appreciate that. And the youth keep us youthful, you know? They're the reason why we have fun.
And they need a space too. A lot of times,
they do. Yeah, in Jacksonville, there's not a lot of spaces for like young people to like be exposed to, you know, like just like a different, you know, event to go to that's, you know, that's like cool, you know, not like weird or like childish. You know, when I was a young person, like there was a skating rink that we used to go to, and it'd be like all of our tunes were played and stuff like that, and it was just like so much fun, you know, and those spaces like just didn't really exist anymore. So
it's a bummer. We had a skating rink that's like open, two that have like opened and closed multiple times, and I remember those days, like elementary school and middle school, you go out there, you got your skates on, you're about to, you know, you're looking all fresh and shit, you got to jam out to your tunes.
It was such a huge part of like my childhood, is like going to skating rinks, so that's really dope.
Yeah, and it's so good to have those spaces continue to grow, because especially with COVID, I feel like it did like a number on a lot of kids. You know what I mean? Everybody's separated and isolated, and that like social aspect of life that was like the most important part too.
Listen, I couldn't even imagine. Like I remember asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, what would you have done like if like a whole pandemic happened, like when we were like, you know, in elementary school? She's like, I would like leave my job. Like I could, like what?
What
like,
am I gonna do?
What am I gonna do? I would have to be like at work. At home with y'all. Like that shit was like crazy. I could not imagine as a youth like going through that. I mean, I struggled as an adult, so I couldn't even imagine. Like that was just like the wildest time.
Yeah, and especially like as a kid, that's when you're making your most important, or it's when you're making the pathways to connections with other humans. Yeah. And then so if you're coming up with COVID, like the thought of human connection is associated with fear.
Exactly. And also just like, you know, some of the most important times of like development too, you know, like these kids lost like 2 to 3 years. Like shout out to my homies that are teachers, because that was just like whoo, child. And then now like them like losing like that's so huge, like losing 2 to 3 years of like not in person like teaching, you know, and how behind they are. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. I'm just hoping that, you know, something gives and that they're able to just kind of like, you know, navigate this, because I mean my homies that are teachers in Florida especially, and on top of like not only like dealing with the pandemic but then also having like DeSantis is like fuck ass as a governor. Like, and it's like all these bills like for, queer and trans youth in Florida. It's just like, it's a tough time right now.
It really is. And I feel like everybody was always like, oh, that could never happen. The gay rights movement is over because they won, you know what I mean? And clearly it is not over. And same with like women's rights movements. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, everybody's like, this is over. We're past feminism. Like, we're past gay rights.
Roe has fallen.
Yeah.
So wild.
I mean, just like with COVID as well, just like a reexamination of all civil rights in general, because I mean, like, we had, all of the things that happened with like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, and then like going into women's rights with Roe versus Wade, and then like the all the debate over trans issues. It's just been so many things that seemed like they were at least nicely packaged and put in the corner, like are just like exploding into so much hate over the last few years.
It's just wild. I mean, as someone who is black, femme presenting but non-binary and trans, and then being in the South, it's just been like, you fit into like all of those categories.
You're right.
And it's just like it's like, I'm constantly in a space of like disassociating and then like being in community, but also being in movement. So like always like, hearing like, okay, y'all, especially being in Atlanta, like, doing the Defend the Forest work, like just like all the things all at once,
Everything at once, babe.
Everything at once, child. Look at that. See, I didn't even know. But yeah, and it's just been like so disheartening. It's been like really tough, but also just like trying to be in community with like Southern, like, resistance and like Southern movement folks has been like the reason why I keep doing what I do, trying to use like music as a tool to resist, trying to like engage in like different parts of the movement. Because for me, being like on the front lines is not like my go-to anymore. Like as a young person, yes, I'd want to be in the streets, I'd want to be on the microphone, but now I'm like, no, because we still need people in movement, being in spreadsheets. We need people in movement painting banners, and like I'm like that's where I thrive at, like finding the art, finding the organizing, just because like being on the front lines can be so taxing,
Yeah, and it's a lot of I feel like a big thing that makes it difficult for any movement, especially, is like to maintain it. Like, yeah, I could take a week off of work and I could go and protest and do all these stuff, but eventually I need to like pay my bills and support myself and feed myself, which doesn't leave a lot of time to be out there marching or be out there protesting or doing things being a part of the movement, and it seems to just kind of peter out over time.
Yeah. And I think too, what has been beautiful to see, in Atlanta is like the amount of like mass mobilization that like this movement has been able to bring out. Folks have been coming from like all over, and it's been so beautiful to see, just like the organizing of folks, like, if you do have to go to work, like someone else is going to tap in and do the work. And I think that's what's like so important about our movements is that we're missing, just speaking on like from things that I see is like that coalition building, like that has to happen. If we're going to win anything, we all have to be in it. Folks who are civil rights activists, people that are doing like environmental work or reproductive work or trans work, like it's all all of those things are the same issue, so I think it's important to like continue to remember those things.
Right. And I feel like a lot of times in the past, those movements have been like separate, like your gay rights movement or your feminist movement. Or your, they haven't been like notorious allies, at least from what I've heard about like through like college and studying feminism and stuff like that, that you could be one or the other, and it seems like now people are recognizing that this is impacting more than like nobody's in a closed system anymore.
No, they're all the same thing, and I think that's part of like growing like within the movement too, is like realizing like defending the forest is a reproductive issue, like defending forests is a black issue, defending forests is immigration,
right.
Like all of these things are interconnected. Same with like reproductive justice with like trans issues. I mean, they all like cross over each other, because it's all about like bodily autonomy and being able to live live the life that you are, you want to live and have. And so I think that's something that's like super important to like always remember is like, okay, who else does this affect? How is this movement like touching other folks?
Right. And
I think that I had my Tony quote to drop down.
oh no.
That was definitely stolen, but it's like it's along the lines of it's like an old feminist saying like the movement is cross-sectional. Like it's cross-sectionalized. Like for anything to succeed, everybody has to come together on every front.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so true.
I remember the first day or the day that I asked you to come on the show. I saw like a thing in Arts and Culture, and it was you and Note, and I reached out, and he's on the show too. I don't know if you guys talk to each other.
Oh yeah, we're staying in the same Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
cool.
He's been doing a lot of great work. He's been like working so hard. I'm like, fuck, should I be doing more?
He's great. He was just here yesterday.
Oh, that's so dope.
Yeah.
I keep telling that man because he's been walking everywhere. I'm like, dude, tell me when you need a ride. I will take you somewhere. He's like, it was so cold today. I'm like, why? I will pick you up. Just tell me. But he's not gonna.
But anyway, oh man, I was gonna say something. I forgot it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Note was here.
Note was here. And
You said you saw something on Instagram.
Oh, yes, that's it. The day that I asked you, I saw you guys on Arts and Culture, and I was looking through your guys' social medias and stuff like that. And the day that I asked you, you had like these you were like setting up your DJ booth outside of Co-op City, and I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool.
Yes, yeah. Well, so that photo was actually a youth rally. So shout out to the Wolani Coalition. That's who I support and organize with, and they are a bunch of like teachers, like students that support like youth who want to be involved in the movement. And so we were in this like really dope neighborhood in East Point that's like super supportive, and the youth like did a march and they led like chants and stuff. And so it was a youth rally. So it wasn't on the Wolani land, but it was in this like really dope neighborhood. I actually have not been to the forest yet. It's a little hard right now. Recently, unfortunately, we had like some violence where like the police like arrested. I want to say, let me not get to line, I think it was like 8 folks that were arrested because they had a free music festival, because a part of the land was still open. And so they had like this huge concert. It was free, it was dope, no violence, and then the police came and arrested like 8 folks and charged them with domestic violence.
Jesus.
I mean with domestic terrorism. Excuse me, not domestic violence, domestic terrorism.
I was hoping you were going to say domestic disturbance, because that's not so bad, but no, it's
domestic
the opposite way.
Terrorism.
Jesus,
it was ridiculous. And so so now that part of the space is completely cut off, but I think there is like a certain part that you're allowed to go to, but the people are still agitating. Like shout out to like my one of my favorite professors, Dr. Sheke. He is leading like huge movements with like the professors and the students on campus, because GSCU is a huge funder of the Atlantic Police Department, who is like the folks who are over the lease. Right. And so he's been doing a lot of like resistance, and so that's how I even got involved in the movement, was through him, because he invited me to go to a meeting, and I was like, okay, yeah, I hadn't gotten into like any type of movement stuff in Atlanta yet, so I was like, yeah, this is like where I need to be. And there's folks that are our students that are part of the coalition, that are parents, elders, it's very like intergenerational, and just like folks that are white folks, indigenous folks, black folks, so it's like a like all kind of like different folks that are involved, so it's been really amazing.
It's so important to see people standing up to the human rights abuses that have been going on for so long. Yeah. And it seems like people have hopefully finally had enough, and hopefully it doesn't take, some, I'm sure it'll take more, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want to see it erupt in, armed standoffs.
I mean, it already has. I mean, the National Guard was deployed like last month. Like, National Guard was like downtown on our campus and stuff. It's been insane. And, I think most importantly is remembering, and I think this is why it's so important transnationally, that like Defend the Forest has been able to reach, and like folks being able to speak out, because like we don't want Cop City is not only like no Cop City in Atlanta, it's like no Cop City like anywhere,
right?
You know, and so it's been really beautiful to see like all these like different folks like come in and also like speak out to that's how we're gonna win. It's gonna take like all of us, not just folks like in Atlanta, but folks from Atlanta to Florida to New York to Palestine, because it all is interconnected, and I think that has been the really dope part about the political education part, is that folks have been able to connect that, because people come from cops come from all over to Atlanta to to quote unquote train. We have folks that come from Israel, occupied Israel, Palestine, that come and like train in Atlanta. So it's like this is like an international like problem, not just an Atlanta problem. And so it's just been beautiful to see that people like be able to slow down like construction, because construction has been slowed down for like a year.
Good.
And so many things are like happening. We get wins and losses like every single day, but the people know, and they're resisting.
And I think that one of the most incredible parts about this, and big surprise, that there's adversity that people have to fight against in these protests, is that there is like no media coverage at all. You know what I mean? You see it for a day on like big mainstream media.
When the stuff is like bad, when there's like a police car on fire, and it's like, y'all, please.
Right? Come on. Like, this is important stuff that affects all sorts of people across the world. This is an international issue, and we're not giving it any time or any attention to actually hear why this is important, and why people are doing this, and why people are going out to march when they could be doing any other number of things that might be more productive for them.
Exactly. And I shout out to Angela Davis. She recently spoke about like Stop Cop City, and like how important it is to like stand with like folks there. So it's been like great to get that like back into like a national headlines, that like she was able to like take a stance and like say that. So
I think it's an old trick. Hopefully, my hope is that as technology becomes something, continues to evolve to a thing where all of us can share information, that we can trump these traditional medias, because I've been doing a lot of reading, like a couple of the books I've been reading lately either loosely or directly revolve around the beginning and expansion of the AIDS epidemic. It was a similar kind of thing, like so many marginalized people just getting sick and dying, and there was very little to no media coverage about it. Like, you'd have stories here and there, but it wasn't like you didn't know how bad it was.
Exactly. And I think that, circling back to like we were talking earlier about just like public health, that was like some of the same things with COVID too, until it was like, more of folks that are, maybe white, like cis, like, have more of like class status, once those millions of people started dying, then they were like, oh, let's talk about this,
right.
Because like when the AIDS epidemic, unfortunately my grandfather, passed due to that, and like a lot of my work is in HIV. Before like I started getting, a little bit deeper, I was an HIV case manager, did like HIV testing and stuff like that, and it's like, because like millions of black people were dying, they were doing nothing, the government was doing absolutely nothing, and these people were demonstrating, doing these quilts, like doing songs, like it was like so much stuff that was happening until the government was finally like, okay, but even still, like the laws, if we think about like HIV laws, you should definitely look into that, for folks. It's so terrible the ways that they treat still folks who are living with HIV.
Right.
Or like the opioid epidemic too. Like, how long have drugs been a problem on the street, but like it didn't really make like the we need to do something national news until politicians' kids were dying.
That's what I'm about to say. You
Yeah.
better say that. You better say that. Yes, until these like, like affluent like white kids were like dying, then they were like, oh my God, y'all, there's like
There's
a
heroin.
drug
Yeah.
problem. Exactly. There's heroin out here. It's
Watch out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that hearing those firsthand experiences from people who have been through it is so powerful. We had a guest on a while ago, Doc Neal, who's a doctor. He has HIV. He worked mostly with HIV patients and stuff like that, and he ended up getting fired from the hospital that he was working at because he had HIV.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he had, the news was called, his whole family was harassed and bothered for months afterwards, and it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And it genuinely pissed me off to hear the way that these people were treated during
Right.
these times of ignorance.
And still are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and still are. I mean, as someone who is like doing HIV work in the South, especially, like folks are still so like, ignorant. They, so much stigma still lives,
Oh,
because
sure,
I
yeah.
worked with the young people, and, I just remember hearing stories of like, some young people living at home and like their parents would only have them eat on paper, like products, because they thought that's how
They were
like
gonna throw-
HIV
Yeah, they
like
didn't
was
wanna use the same
transmitted.
silverware
I'm
and
like,
stuff.
child, that's not how HIV transfer. Like, yeah, I cannot. And I mean, even now, like, I did a lot of like HIV like interventions with like young people, like cis men, trans folks, talking about like HIV, and like even like in trans care, like the CDC basically doesn't even recognize trans masculine folks. They have no data on HIV as it comes to like trans masculine people, even though there's some of the folks that are having like some of the highest like transmission rates. And so it's just been like, it's terrible, like the lack of like public health that comes around like with HIV. And it's like, imagine if like the same ways that we treated like COVID, like the amount of like public health and literacy that we got from our phones to like, flyers, the billboards, the commercials, like if that could happen with like sex education, like
Right.
it would completely change the game, if like young people knew like you can go get condoms here, you can do this or that. I'm like, y'all, I'm sorry, but y'all kids are fucking, like y'all need to give them some condoms.
Right. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
And let them take PrEP or whatever it is they need.
PrEP, all those things. And it's like, that's not like a scary thing like to do. It's just, it's prevention,
It's a smart thing to do.
It's a smart thing to do, please.
Right. And I feel like one of the biggest double-edged swords out there is that like social media can be such a powerful way to transfer information from one another. And the hard part or the difficult part or the scary part is people's ability to determine or evaluate that information and decide what is good information and what is bad information, because for every good thing that's out there and that's shared and that's positive and helpful and accurate and right or whatever, there's so much more misinformation, and the news and the media and everybody is just twisting the fuck out of everything that goes out there because they want those clicks, because that's how they make their money. So they're going to write the most inflammatory, outrageous bullshit headlines that have almost nothing to do with what is actually being reported or discovered or however they're sourcing this information.
Exactly. Because, I mean, I think the thing, too, to keep in mind is, like, when we're thinking about, like, the history of, like, the medical industrial complex, like, the folks who were able to have care were folks who had, like, capital, who were folks who, like, were able to, like, have those things. That was a form of, like, status to be able to, like, go to the doctor, And also, like, understanding, like, the real, like, historical, like, trauma that, like, black folks had when it comes to the medical system.
Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah, Tuskegee, like, I mean, slavery, like,
all the stuff in general.
Yeah, like, there's this, like, really dope book. It's called Medical Apartheid, and it is it's a hard book to get through, but it's basically a chronicle, like, history of, like, black folks to medicine. I mean, even, like, slaves, like, slave women, unfortunately, some of the tools that we use to, like, examine, like, folks in, like, getting a pap smear, stuff like that, all those things were created on slaves, like, with no anesthesia. Some of the things, like, as far as, like, replacing bones and, like, doing all these things, these were, like, the reason why we have these tools and some of these things is because like they were, you know, experimented on like black slaves, or on slave women. And so it's like there's like a real like historical like reason why sometimes like black folks will believe like certain things or not go to the doctor, like, you know, when things happened with like COVID, you know, when people didn't get like tested or got the vaccine, you know, there's like a real reason why, you know, folks, and they had valid reasons, you know, when you're talking about that.
Is powerful too.
Yes, generational like medical racism, like stuff that, you know, you're talking about Tuskegee, like, you know, I've had family members be tested on just so that their families could get a check, you know, and because the medical system, like, you know, unfortunately, like preys on those folks because they know, like, okay, let me test on your baby so you can get like a $500 check. Like, how fucked up is that, you know? But it's like, you know, unfortunately, those are like the real realities that like
do I want to feed my baby?
Exactly.
I need this $500.
You would think, yeah, like for what? How long's America been around? 400, 500 years? Just like 400, 500 years in this country of, you know, institutional and systemic racism, and you wonder why people are
scared.
Yeah.
So like trust, you know.
Leery.
Like why would they do that? Because it's like, you know, that ski was not that long ago, you know, and that's just like one. We haven't even talked about like sickle cell. We haven't talked about gonorrhea. Like, you know, the medical system was like when we discovered that like Bactrim was the reason, or like a drug that was going to help get rid of gonorrhea. Like the ways that they found out like how that was working was that they were intentionally giving black men gonorrhea so that they could test this drug on it. So it's like, why would, and that's not that long ago, you know what I mean? Right. And so, so exactly to your point, it's like, there's just so many, like, you have to read it. You have to read it. It's so hard, like the medical apartheid, but it's just like, you know, there's real
Dave will
reasons.
love it. He's about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. I wish
really difficult reads.
Who is that?
Dave.
Okay. Really I'm like, who is that?
This guy. I wish I could remember who it was because I had one of those really. It was in one of my really difficult read books, but like it was a lady and she was a prominent professor, I want to say, but like they were a black couple, and her husband got sick, and when they took this man to the hospital, they diagnosed him with something strictly because he was black. You know, you have to have this because you're a black man, and this is the most likely thing. And she, well, why don't you test him for something else? Oh, no, this is what it is. And they had to get multiple opinion, or they had to go see multiple or another doctor before they like did other tests, and they're like, oh, he doesn't have that. He has has like another issue altogether. Wow. And like that just made me think of that. I wish I could remember the fucking names.
I know, no, you're good. I mean, it's just like it's so real, and even if we're thinking about that, and that's just like those like, you know, medical, how you say, like medical treatments. Like we haven't even talked about like black women giving birth, or not black women, black folks giving birth. You know, folks who are like birthing. I'm trying to use like gender neutral language. I understand like trans masculine folks also, you know, have babies too. But, you know, the real like, you know, things when it comes to like folks giving birth in this country who are black, like they, you know, don't get the right care. They're dying at like such high rates, you know, while giving birth because they're not listening to them, you know. I mean, even I had a friend recently, one of my you know, partners' friends, you know, they like had like a certain issue, like same thing, and then the doctor was like, no, that's not, like, you shouldn't be hurting that much still. And it's like, yeah, they had like a whole torn like ACL, and it was like, what?
Jesus.
I mean, I guess you could like, and it's sad, but you can take that and like transpose it on other issues, like going back to like the police, you know.
Yes, so 100%.
You know, like you're so many times, just from footage I've seen, like you don't get a chance to explain yourself.
Right.
You know, like it's just automatically guilty, and not only automatically guilty, but automatically a threat.
Exactly. It's so real.
It's scary.
Scary things.
It's crazy. It's crazy times we're living in.
No, it definitely is.
And we appreciate the message that you're sharing for
thank you.
The Black community and all the trans folks out there,
Thank you.
and advocating for them, and coming on our show and having a difficult conversation about things that people don't normally like to talk about.
I know, we got dark, y'all, but
we did. But it's so important to be able to have those conversations,
It's
you know?
so important. Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. It's been such an amazing time to be able to share space with y'all.
Absolutely.
And
we've
be
loved it.
around your cute dog. Your sweet dog.
Austin's our house security. Gideon is our studio manager. She's one of the cats.
Yes.
And,
I think I saw her. She was like, all right, y'all doing work here? All right,
Yeah.
I'm good.
She had to make sure that we were doing the work.
Yes.
That's the important part.
She usually jumps on the table to get us back focused, but she was like, "Nah, you guys are hitting.
She's
got
like,
it on
y'all,
today.
she's like, this is a good episode. Okay, I see y'all.
Y'all are hitting on all cylinders. I'm not going to interrupt."
Yeah. So tell the people out there how they can find you.
So you can find me on all the things GeeXella. That's GeeXella. GeeXellamusic.com. GeeXella Twitter, Instagram, Book of Faces, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Go out and check out her playlist, all her
Yes.
music, all the positive things that she's doing for her community down in
yes.
Atlanta. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in today. We love and appreciate you. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters and all of our advertisers. You guys are amazing and make this
Yes.
show possible and allow it to keep growing and have these wonderful conversations for the people.
that's it.
Keep showing up. We'll keep showing up for you.
That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.